Adult movie usage is down 47% since the introduction of the Online Safety Act. But not in my house, it's not. All I did was download Surfshark for less than the price of a coffee a month, and trust me, that is more than paid for itself. 10 times over. Honestly, it's the gift that keeps on giving. I just click on Surfshark on my phone, click on I'm now in America, and then I don't have to do all of this, enter your age, enter your ID. I don't want to send a picture of myself, I just want to see some big boobs. But whatever you're into, Surfshark has got you covered, and it is the easiest app to use ever created. And also, if you want to watch boxing and football, this app is going to come in handy. You know exactly what I'm on about. And it works on all of your devices, so what the hell are you waiting for, lads? Just click the link in the description below. Go to surfshark.com/paingame, and you can get the ultimate game changer for your everyday entertainment in Surfshark for less than the price of a coffee a month. And that includes 4 extra months of Surfshark when you use my link. So not only are you having a good time, you're helping us keep the lights on and make more good content for you. This is a no-brainer. It's a win-win. So do me a favour, get on it. Ben Whittaker returned to the boxing ring this weekend in the most important fight so far in his career. Not the hardest, granted, and we'll get into that, but this was a vitally important win for him because his career really feels like it's at a crossroads right now. He's just signed with Eddie Hearn, who wants to make him a global superstar in the world of boxing. And I think we've all seen things that he has that could make him that global superstar. But what has been missing is just the progression in the ring and him going up the levels. You know, with Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua coming to the end of their career, we're looking to young British fighters saying, who's going to be the next guy? Who can we support and hang our hat on to carry British boxing? Conor Benn is a big name now, big personality, and he's having big fights. Fabio Wardley, I don't know if he's got the sort of name recognition, but he's a world champion in the heavyweight division, so that automatically puts him in the picture. Moses Atoma, one of the most impressive young fighters we've ever seen, still building his name, but performing well in the ring. I put Ben Whittaker in that group, but when it comes to the level of competition he's been fighting so far, it isn't on the same level as where these guys are at. And that's what this move to Eddie Hearn was all about for me, moving him through the levels and guiding him to a world title one day. And Ben's been through quite a lot so far in a very short time in his boxing career. Obviously, he won an Olympic silver medal, which was an amazing achievement. And Ben's rise to fame really started with these highlight reel moments, which were totally different to most boxers' highlight reels. It's not him just devastating knockout. It's people struggling like fuck to land on him and him making it look very cocky and entertaining. And particularly in America, I mean, moments like this, they were like, we love this guy immediately, right? He grew a huge audience, but it felt like that audience wasn't really capitalized on, and that the opponents in front of him weren't big enough names to propel him to a bigger level. And then this happened in Saudi Arabia, went over the ropes with Liam Cameron. You know, there was injuries reported. There was a lot of talk, people calling him a quitter. He went through a really dark period early on in his career. You know, there was guys in boxing who said, oh, I've seen him in training, he's a quitter. Like, he got hammered. And this clearly had a toll on him, because when you have been like a winner and everyone's sucking you off, life's easy, right? But when everyone's laughing at you, pointing at you and saying you're shit, it can go one of two ways. Some people come through it, some people fade away. And luckily, I think this only motivated him to go back to the gym and actually take things more serious, right? He brought Andy Lee in as his new trainer, who's a very, very good boxing coach. And the way he approached the rematch with Liam Cameron was with a lot more respect, right? He took him seriously, and you see here the level of viciousness in these punches. He gave him a lot of respect in there, and he dispatched of him in brutal fashion in only 2 rounds. And you see the way he reacted, actually screaming in the face of Liam Cameron's coaches, who had been giving him shit. You've seen the outpouring of emotion. This is when we realize, like, this guy's a showboater, but there's a lot going on in here, inside of him. You know, he's more than meets the eye. And the question is, now that he's overcome, you know, that low moment and shown what he's made of to some degree, is what's in there enough to get him all the way to the promised land and win a world title? Because I believe there's a lot to Ben Whittaker. I think he's got a lot of talent, a lot of ability, a lot of mental strength. But when I went to Saudi on the weekend and I seen Benavidez up close, I was literally in the hotel with him. The guy's fucking massive, quite a slender guy, but just a unit. And the way he beat the shit out of Anthony Yard, it was terrifying. It was relentless. And I did say he was scarier than Usyk and Fury and AJ in the title of the video, but like, yeah, It really was a horrible way to lose a fight, that, because there's just no way out when you're in there with him. He is mean to the core, and like the way he just loves hurting you. He loves it. And that's not to mention Dmitry Bivol, who can dance around you and outpoint you all night. Like, the champions in his weight class are fucking elite. This ain't no easy world title win situation here. This is as hard as it fucking gets, in fact. So for Ben Whittaker to reach that level with Eddie Hearn by his side, we were going to have to see something special this weekend. Now let's take a look at the fight and let's break it down how it went. So Ben immediately got on the jab here, right? That jab is lightning quick. It looked quicker than ever, in fact. And I think that that's a good sign from his work with Andy Lee. Lovely footwork around the outside, just picking him apart with the jab. And like, you know, as Loza from the Pain game always taught me, if I can jab you, I can fucking hurt you. And he was just touching him and letting his hands go early on here, waiting for that right hand. And he looks for the right hand more there. I think he's getting his confidence immediately. And that jab is just landing at will. Nice mixing it up to the body as well, because he's keeping his hands high. You got to give him something else to think about. And he moves him around. And he did that quite a bit against Liam Cameron in the rematch. I think he likes to sort of take control. And that right hand looked like it might have landed behind the glove there. On the back foot. Nice jab on the back foot. And lovely movement. Right hand lands and a beautiful body shot, and he follows it up with a lovely combination and smashes him on the floor. I think that they expected this to happen. I just think that they were thinking, maybe later rounds, you know, like 6 onwards or something, we'll get good rounds. They wanted good rounds out of this lad. I don't think they wanted an immediate squash. That being said, I think he knew it was coming, because he's playing around, talking to his corner in the middle of this, and he knew in the first round this is over. And he had him badly hurt. Lovely shots left and a right, and he's trying to hold on, and that right behind it flatlines Gavozzi there. Fuck me. And that was a statement. Was the guy in there great? Obviously not, but that was still a statement. There's been a lot of talk about the power of Ben Whittaker earlier on in his career. You know, maybe he hasn't put his punches together in the right way. Has he sat down on them enough? The way he boxed there, it was the best version of Ben Whittaker I've seen. Was it against the best opponent he's had? Probably not, no. But that doesn't take away the things that I think were an improvement on his previous performances. I do think sometimes he's turned up overconfident, not taking people seriously. I think Liam Cameron, in the long run, even though it was one of the darkest periods of his life, that whole thing will be a gift rather than a curse. And sometimes that happens, right? Your biggest crisis, or you're actually God's way of teaching you the best fucking lesson, because it taught him to not take people lightly anymore. Even if this guy isn't on your level, take him seriously and make a fucking statement and get him the fuck out of there. Don't get him, let him get confidence. The longer he's in there, the more he thinks, this isn't actually that bad. And before you know it, you might develop a bit of a problem on your hands here. The showboating was minimal and the devastation was at a maximum. That is brilliant. And look, the guy's record is 19-2. So on the surface, it's a solid record. You look into some of the people he's fought, obviously, they're not great. And I totally get why people are a bit frustrated in this. They want to see him move through the gears. He's 28 years old now. It's time to start pushing. But I get why, after a lot of inactivity with the way things have been with Boxer and trying to get fights, it's been difficult for him. Get him in there with someone you know he's going to fucking beat him well, and then we're off to the races. I can excuse this one. I don't think that people should be too angry. The next one it's got to be serious. Then people can have a real complaint, because this was his first fight with Eddie Hearn. And Eddie Hearn's kind of admitted, look, we had no highlights.
Obviously, a lot of his previous performances were with a different promotional company and broadcaster who didn't really want to give us the clips or the highlights, because it's the game we work in. So we kind of left with no footage. And I went to him tonight and said, can you just give us something that we can really use around the world tonight? And he said to me after, he went, how about that? And that was exactly what you should be doing. You know, and I know that obviously people say, the opponent's a good, solid opponent that's there to give him rounds. And one thing that we were promised with Gavazzi, and everyone told us, is this kid's really tough. He might not have the skill of Ben Whittaker, but he'll give him rounds. And what Ben did was completely dismantle him. But he didn't just do that and get the referee to save him. He unloaded a vicious combination that knocked him clean out in a showreel knockout that just gets seen virally all around the world and will do millions and millions and millions of views. And that's what Ben Whittaker does.
Based on what Eddie said, I understand why Ben was matched up the way he was this time. But I do agree with everyone else in that in future, we need to see him move through the gears appropriately. Otherwise, you're never going to be ready for a Benavidez or a Bivol. And I think Ben has some skills and some qualities, given that he was a silver medalist at the Olympics and everything we've seen since then, that could really trouble a lot of high-level fighters. And I think those unanswered questions about how is he going to handle it when he's in there with a top-level guy, and it's not all going his way, those are questions that you kind of want to answer on the way to a Benavidez, so that the first time he gets in there with a Benavidez, it's not a total shock to the system, and that this is fucking really hard, and that you've had those tests on the way up. So for me, you've got Craig Richards, Willie Hutchinson. Imagine Willie, because he's a right fucking showboater and a cocky bastard as well. That would be a money fight for me. I'd love watching that. Buatsi, Yard. If you put him in there with Yard, all right, granted, Yard didn't look great against Benavidez, but that's a test as well, because Yard still probably will pose some problems in there. Can you deal with them in just as good a fashion as David Benavidez? What if he does it even quicker? Maybe he will now that he's been softened up. I don't know, but these are all tests that you can put him in there with, build him up so that when he does fight for a world title, we have a fucking good idea of what he needs to work on, how he can improve, and you can get him those build-up fights. The issue for me is you can't wait around, because David Benavidez is only 28 himself. Even though he's had 31 fucking fights, won multiple world titles, he's only 28. So Ben Whittaker with only 10 fights, he's lacking in that pro-level experience that he's going to need to win a fight like that, in my opinion. When you watch Benavidez and you see him just welcoming the punishment on from Yard, because he's been there time and time again. He knows that ring inside out. He knows what level he's on. He's answered those questions to not only everyone else, but to himself. Those are the questions Ben Whittaker now will need to go and answer for himself. But if he fucking does, and he answers them well, we've got a bona fide motherfucking superstar on our hands in British boxing. Because everything I complain about with Devin Haney and the way he is in the ring and all of that, right? And don't get on my back again. All right, I've had enough. But Ben Whittaker is the opposite. Ben Whittaker is the ultimate show. The ultimate one you put your money down for, if he can do it all at the highest level. So let's see what he said in his post-fight interview.
Did you feel pressure, Ben, perhaps to put on a statement like that here tonight?
No, Andy said in the locker room, he said, what you do in sparring's enough. Go out there and do that. Work behind your things. I don't want to give it away, but he said, work behind your things and it'll all come together.
What he says there about Andy, what Andy Lee said to him before he walked out, it shows how much trust he has in Andy Lee. Andy should. Andy Lee's been there, done it himself as a boxer and as a coach. But previously, when I watched some of his performances where you're thinking, your head's not in it right now, he wasn't listening to his coach in the corner, that's exactly how I want him talking. I am looking up to and really respecting his coach. That is a problem that the likes of Chris Eubank has struggled with. He always thought he was the smartest bloke in the room, and actually far from it a lot of the time. And when you have the tools that Ben Whittaker has, and you have a mind that's actually listening to smarter, wiser men than yourself, well, then you get good results usually. And for all everyone thinks he's arrogant and he's too big to be told what to do or whatever maybe, that's showing that there's more to him.
Yeah, at the end of the day, he was a game kid. I could see it in his eyes. At the end of the day, this is an opportunity for him to change his life. But he said something at the press conference that I knew let it slip. He said he's got nothing to lose. Well, I'm a person that's got everything to lose.
Ooh, I like that. There's a lot made out of that in fighting when there's a challenger or an up-and-comer and they've got everything to gain. But sometimes the man with everything to lose, right? He's got the whole world at his feet. He's been given this massive multi-million-pound deal with Matchroom, no doubt. If he'd have not performed and looked shit, that would have just ruined everything. That state of mind is dangerous.
I'm going to show something special. I'm going to show why I'm different. And you don't get Olympic medals for hopping around on one foot. I can do it all, baby.
It's good of him to remind people of that, because people often talk about Ben as if he's a show pony and he's just there to fucking do some tricks or whatever. The guy got an Olympic medal. As Brits, we should want him to fulfill that potential and show it at the professional top level. But I think the nature of his performances have pissed people off before in the past. But like I say, I'd much rather watch someone who comes to bring a fucking show than someone who stinks it out and then tells you should love him for it. Yeah, I'm fucking talking about you, Devin Haney fans. The war isn't over.
Listen, all I can say is wow. Sometimes people come into an arena, they light up the place. The energy, the ring walk, everything. But what matters is what happens in here. People will say, oh, you know, Gavazi come in with 19 straight wins. He was a tough guy. We know there's many levels above him to where we've got to get to. But what you do with that level is you go in there and you destroy them clinically, and you produce a showreel knockout that the whole world watches for the next week. Millions and millions of views watching this young man who is so special. And when you talk about the greats of British boxing in the past, Nazim Hamed, Chris Eubanks Sr., all of those eccentric characters with plenty of ability, this guy has it all.
I know people will be criticising the level, and the guy wasn't high level, but I think we need to give him a chance, and we need to back him. Those kind of fights, Beterbiev, Bivol, and Benavides, if we have a Brit going up against those guys, that would be massive. Massive for British boxing. But let's see. Let me know what you think in the comments below. How good is Ben Whittaker actually, and how far will he go? And another thing I think is quite interesting to know is, where do you rank him in Britain's next big stars? You know, I mentioned Wardley and Atoma in the heavyweight division doing their thing. Conor Ben had a big coming out against Chris Eubank in the rematch. Where does he rank? And who will finish with the biggest profile, the most money? Who will be the biggest star out of that? Which is kind of a different question in terms of like who's the best fighter. Because honestly, as much as I think Moses Atoma is possibly the greatest talent I've seen as a young fighter, I think Ben has the potential to just be a fucking mega star if he can put it all together. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Hit the like button, subscribe to the Pain Game YouTube channel. I'll see you on the next one.